What if the scariest Greek monster is not summoned, it is inherited? Picture this. A priestess opens a sealed jar meant for a festival, and the room fills with the smell of iron and old breath. No one screams. Everyone goes quiet, because in the oldest tales, the gods do not always send creatures from far away. Sometimes they plant them inside agreements, inside family duties, inside promises you made without words. In Thessaly, there is a tale older than any temple sign. A midwife is asked to attend a birth at the palace. She expects coin, she expects thanks, she expects the usual rules. But the request comes with a second contract. It is spoken only once, in a low voice to the fathers, like a prayer that sounds like advice. The household is promised protection, and in return, the midwife will never refuse the god's call again. Now listen to how people frame it. They never call it a curse. They call it a blessing with sharp edges. The midwife agrees. She walks into the chamber, and her hands guide the child into the world. The family celebrates. The next morning, the father brings bread and a ribbon for gratitude. Then the god's call comes. Not from the sky, not from a statue. It comes from inside the house, from a sound that only the chosen can hear. She goes to the attic. There is no ladder, but she finds one anyway. There is no light, but she sees anyway. And there, wrapped in cloth like an offering, is a small shape with too many joints. It does not move like an animal. It moves like an idea that learned how to crawl. The midwife tries to back away, and the shape tightens, as if it is tied to her breath. She runs downstairs, but the door has changed. The latch is on the wrong side. The walls have shifted by a finger's width. It is subtle, the way fear often is. Her family cannot see anything unusual, because the bargain was never meant to be witnessed. Only the one who agreed can feel the tug of duty. Only the one who agreed can be pulled upward into the attic's rules. She returns to the god again and again, because each refusal makes the sound louder. And each return brings the creature closer, not through force, but through familiarity. It learns her name the way a cat learns a window. It learns where she keeps her herbs. It learns how she lies when she says she is fine. Here is the twist most retellings skip. The monster is not outside. The monster is what the gods leave behind when they are starving for honesty, starving for blood without the mess of war. They do not hunt you in the woods. They hunt the version of you that still believes you can keep your life separate from your promises. So how do you avoid it? You think the answer is to break the contract, to refuse, to leave. But the myths rarely allow that clean escape. The bargain spreads like ink. If the midwife tries to quit, the sound follows her into the streets. If she tries to hide, the shape appears in the mirror's shadow. People call it an omen. The chosen call it a tether. In other regions, they tell the same structure with different costumes. A fisherman refuses to pay a tithe of salt after a storm, and later he hears the sea in his own throat. A potter swears their kiln will be sanctified. Then they forget one small step. The next morning, fingerprints appear in the clay. 7 sets, too many, as if someone else wants to sign their work. Each story uses local details because the gods are not interested in your geography. They are interested in your pattern. They watch how you treat obligations when no one is looking. They watch the little places where you say yes, then secretly mean no. Now think of how ancient Greece honored household roles. Midwives, cooks, guardians of hearth fires. These jobs were not glamorous, but they were sacred in practice. The gods did not need you to fight a hero's battle. They needed you to keep the invisible world stable. That is why the creature is so unsettling. It does not roar in the dark. It waits in your routine. It wears your certainty like skin. It repeats your excuses in the shape of a whisper. It makes you blame fate, then makes fate blame you back. It does not kill you quickly. It teaches you to fear your own voice. The myth's scariest feature is how the monster changes when you try to share it. You tell your spouse, and the words come out wrong. You try to convince a neighbor, and your tongue feels heavy, like it is carrying wet clay. Some versions say the creature steals memory, not by taking it, but by making your recall unreliable. You swear you warned them. They swear you never spoke. That is why the old tales feel like they are about secrecy, but they are really about grief. A family can watch you unravel and still not understand the cause. They see a woman who grows pale, a man who stops sleeping, a child who flinches at harmless sounds. They call it illness. But the chosen know it is hunger, divine hunger dressed as duty. There is another layer, one that makes the bargain even darker. The gods do not only punish broken vows, they punish broken empathy. If you agree to help a stranger, then you resent them later, the creature grows teeth. If you accept a request, then you treat it like a burden, the tether thickens. It is not the promise alone, it is the feeling underneath it. So the question becomes personal. How many of your promises are made with a smile while you privately count the cost? In modern life, we call that stress. In these myths, it is fuel. The monster, rarely named in full, is called by descriptions. The jointed guest, the borrowed breath, the listener that came with your yes. People avoid naming it because names feel like invitations. But when a household is doomed, even the children begin to circle the room carefully, like they are walking around something invisible. And the most chilling part is what happens when the chosen finally satisfies the bargain. You think completion equals relief. You think the creature will release them the way a rope slackens. But in the final tells, fulfillment does not end the story. It changes the owner. The midwife fulfills one last call, one last attic journey. The cloth shape loosens, it rises like smoke, and it settles over her shoulders. She collapses, and her family rushes in, and they find no monster, no sign, no monster to point at. Yet the next birth arrives. The father makes the same offer, the same words, the same low-spoken contract. He does not know he is passing it on. That is the cruelty. Starving gods do not need to lure you. They need you to become the mouthpiece. They need you to repeat the bargain, to recruit the next person in line for duty. So the creature survives not by hunting, but by inheritance. It survives because humans keep translating divine hunger into household tradition. It survives because someone will always be asked to help, and someone will always be tempted to say yes with resentment tucked behind it. When people ask why the gods are cruel in these myths, the answer is stranger than punishment. The gods are not angry. They are hungry. And hunger makes bargains feel like mercy. Hunger makes you mistake a trap for a blessing. Now bring it back to your own world. Not with temples, but with favors. Not with birth rooms, but with obligations at work and promises to friends. The monster is the thing that grows when you say yes to keep peace, then resent what you bought. The inherited tether is the guilt you feed until it learns your habits. So, would you risk immortality or anything permanent, knowing it might become a prison? The answer in the old stories is not about refusing forever. It is about refusing falsely. If you cannot promise with clean hands, do not reach out just to be polite. Speak plainly. Leave room for no, because the gods of starving myth do not need you to break the contract dramatically. They only need you to carry it in silence. The real horror is that the creature follows your feelings home, not your footsteps. It settles into your routines. It waits for the moment you think you are safe, then turns your next yes into its next chain. And when you finally notice it, when you hear the jointed sound in your own throat, it may already be too late to name what you have become. The bargain has already been rehearsed. It is waiting for the person you love to hear you speak it again.